I want to see if you can guess the most common craving in the entire world. Okay, so I'm going to describe it and let's see if you can guess it. And of course, the craving comes from a combination of things of what it can do to the receptors in your taste buds and the actual texture, which is very creamy. It has a good amount of fat in it. It has very unique flavors and aromas, and it's sweet. And it can give you a lot of pleasure when you consume this, both in the combination of texture, flavor, and sweetness, but what it can do for you, okay? What it does to the brain is it decreases a compound in your brain called adenosine, okay? Adenosine is something that helps you sleep. And so if you're consuming this thing, you're actually blocking this compound and it's making you more awake, okay? It also has something called tyrosine, which can also increase this neurotransmitter dopamine, which can actually increase your pleasure. So this thing that most people are craving, has certain chemicals that affect the brain. Cognitive function improvements, okay? So you may feel that you have more clarity with your thinking. You may have more concentration and more focus. And it also affects your mood. So if you have depression or anxiety, it can actually pull you out of that because it helps you with stress. It's also very common to help stabilize emotions with women that go through their menstrual cycle. Hint, hint. It also has effects on your insulin, okay? It can actually make insulin more sensitive. So if you have insulin resistance, it can improve that, thus stabilizing your blood sugars. It has in 1 ounce, 64 milligrams of magnesium, okay? Now, magnesium relaxes you. Magnesium gives you energy, and magnesium is involved in like 300 different enzymes, so it does a lot. It can also affect your body in other ways. Like in one study I found it can reduce coughing, it can help your cardiovascular system, and then it can help reduce blood pressure. So if you guessed this, you are correct. Chocolate is hands down the most common craving that people have. I am definitely not opposed to consuming chocolate as long as you don't get the regular chocolate with all the sugar. You need to get keto-friendly chocolate because all that sugar is going to counter the positive effects that chocolate can have on your body. And of course, because chocolate has certain stimulants, you wouldn't want to necessarily consume it in the later part of the day, at night, especially if you have sleeping problems and you have a little too much. It can keep you up at night. But the theobromine, which is a different chemical, can apparently and help you sleep. But just for the fact that it has caffeine, you got to be careful about that. Now, dark chocolate, okay, why does it have all these health claims? Well, I really think it has to do with, it has, number one, the least amount of sugar, and it has the most concentrated phytonutrients, okay? Now, these phytonutrients are fascinating, and they are part of the factors that give chocolate its flavoring. And I think you'd be quite surprised to find out where these flavors really come from. They come from the microbes, okay? Because chocolate is fermented. So that means that it gets help from the microbes. So apparently it seems that all these wonderful things that we love to eat with all these flavors comes back to these microbes, the fermentation process. You have bread, right? You have cheese, butter, which is fermented. You have wine, beer, and of course, chocolate. All of those are fermented. So these microbes are just fascinating because they give certain foods interesting flavors. So they interact with different things, different fibers in foods, and they turn those into various aromatic chemicals that give flavor. Now, some important information with chocolate. Make sure it's keto friendly, which means get a chocolate that has an alternative sweetener other than sugar. Don't even eat chocolate if it has honey in it, okay, or coconut sugar. You want something like xylitol or monk fruit or stevia or erythritol or even allulose. And you really want to make sure that it doesn't have any soluble corn fiber because this is so badly processed and the studies out on this are so scarce and most of them are from industry. And so we don't know of the effects that this has on our gut microbiome. Also, make sure it doesn't have the tapioca fiber, which also, it's these new functional fibers that are being put in so many different keto-friendly so-called healthy foods, which the jury is still out on that. And of course, no resistant maltodextrin. It's in the same family as all this, as well as no dextrin. Now, since we're on the topic of cravings, if you haven't seen my video on sugar, you should check that out. I put it right here.